fourth quarter. We're now joined by Lindsay Roveno with ESPN Plus, Executive Director of the series coming out about Baylor men's and women's basketball. Lindsay, thanks for your time today. I'd kind of been given a little bit of a heads up to this late in the week. It was announced during the women's game against Michigan yesterday. Thanks for your time. When did all of this start to kind of become real, and your thoughts about how this came together? And again, thanks for your time.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me. We've kept it under wraps for a little bit. We've been filming with them for a couple months now. And we sort of saw it as a unique opportunity to focus on two programs at the same school, both the men's and women's team. Just a nice juxtaposition of two dominant programs. The Our Time series has been around. This is its third season. We've done two football series. But this was a great opportunity to focus on not only basketball, but a women's program as well.
What's jumped out at you so far as you started to follow them?
I think what's really fascinating for me, especially as a working mom, frankly, is watching Coach Colin as she juggles her family and coaching this dominant team. You kind of see her as she travels back on a plane, back to see her family in Atlanta, going to her daughter's cheer competition, and kind of getting a behind-the-scenes look at that access is really fascinating for me personally.
So, Lindsay, how ingrained are you guys? I mean, what can viewers expect in terms of the time that you're around the team? I mean, how closely following and how often is this all being filmed, and kind of what what is the timing of it all in terms of kind of where you start and where you plan on finishing?
Yeah, so we started in preseason. We're there with meeting rooms, locker rooms, practice, on the sidelines, and we're going to take you through the entire season. It's 12 episodes, launching January 6th on ESPN Plus. It's one episode every week. It's every Thursday. We're going to take you all the way through as far as the teams go. Not only will you see, within the athletic facilities, but we also plan to show you, a personal look at the players and the coaches. So, like I said, Coach Colin, juggling her family. Melissa Smith, there's a scene where she is painting and talking to her parents on the phone. We see Matthew Mayer going to get his signature haircut. So we're spending a good amount of time with these coaches and players.
Does that get its own special episode, the Matthew Mayer haircut? Is that its own standalone episode?
It's not its own standalone episode. We probably could have made it one.
Yeah, no, you could have, and it would have probably been the highest rated segment you have because he's such a character. But there's always stories that sometimes when you go in, you don't know them. I mean, you kind of do, you don't. You've done your research. They've told you a lot of things as well. How do these things eventually play out? How quickly do you shoot something, put it to bed, so to speak, ready for another series? And then sometimes things come at the last second. And how do you figure all of that out along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting is that we started filming early, and you have time in the earlier episodes to put it together, right? So when you see episode 1, when it drops in early January, it's some things we gathered earlier. But as the season starts to progress, we get closer and closer on tight turnarounds. And we just have to react as we get closer and closer and more in real time. So we might have to scrap something or start over and turn it quickly to react. I mean, one thing I'm sure will be fascinating, obviously, COVID is making its way back. So we're going to probably have to react to that somehow, I'm sure.
Lindsay, when you are starting something, you don't really know, some of the characters. Matthew Mayer, we just said, he's a character.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Colin and Coach Drew obviously going to be focuses of when you're doing that. What's been the pleasant surprise of people you didn't know anything about going in?
Oh, that's a good one. Trying to think. I don't know. Can I say I'm going to keep it as a secret for now and let you guys tune in. Jordan Lewis, I'm sure, will be fascinating along the way. But why don't we have everyone tune in?
Okay. Scott Drew, famously personable and energetic and always in a good mood. Did your cameras happen to catch him in a non-good mood at all at any point?
Not yet, I don't think. But yes, there are some good scenes of him with the team at in the locker room. And I'm told there's a good moment where he's kind of singing. We'll see if it makes the cut. And there's a really good scene actually where he's kind of coaching the team, putting the game plan together for one of the early games. So some good moments there.
So you're just a couple of weeks away from the debut. The premiere's on January 6th. 12-episode season. Debuts on Thursdays on Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus as well. We as a station, our company, the umbrella of Sikkim365.com, shot a documentary on last year's men's championship and really put together the history of Baylor athletics, the good, the bad, the dark, and the amazing. And I can't imagine, we've talked to the director of that, Sir Charles Scott, and how many hundreds of hours of what you film. How do you break it down into just one series every week? How difficult is that?
It's not easy, I will tell you that. You're with them all the time, and you sort of have to look at it holistically and think about what pieces fit together in every single episode. So, to your question earlier about scrapping things, I mean, we have episodes laid out on what we want to hit, but it might not work out that way. And we've got to pour through that footage and pour through those interviews and figure out who the best characters are and maybe someone who surprises us. And then we have to go follow that person. So we're constantly adjusting on the fly as we go.
When you approached Baylor about this opportunity, I mean, obviously they were receptive because they're doing it, but how excited are they? What were their thoughts on the opportunity for both the men's and women's programs and the attention that it could bring?
They were on board pretty quickly, frankly. It didn't take much convincing. They were really excited about the opportunity to show their programs. I think Coach Drew, obviously, this is going to be a great look at a team trying to repeat, right? And right now they're the top team. So we're hoping to take advantage of it and hope they stay there. And then obviously the women, Coach Collin has come in. She's got WNBA experience, and she's following Mulkey, who has her own legacy. And so it's kind of fascinating to see that transition. And both coaches were open to it and excited about it.
I saw a little bit of it when I think it was Nikki in the car. You got both the coaches talking in the car, and she mentioned how she understands that she might be the most critiqued women's basketball coach in America because of following a legend who had won numerous national championships and also conference championships. How do you feel like she's handled it so far?
I think she's doing great. I think she's handled it with class. I think she talks about it, as you saw, that, she's got big shoes to fill and there's high expectations, but I think she's bringing her own twist and her own spin to it to make it her own program. And I think it's exciting to watch.
All right. Thank you very much. Lindsay, it starts January 6th. Is that the premiere episode?
That is the premiere, yes. And one a week following that.
Okay. One a week, 12 episodes, ESPN Plus, our time from Baylor's and men's and women's basketball programs as well, exclusively on the Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus. Lindsay, thanks very much. Hope to maybe get you again or someone else attached to the series maybe as we get closer and then into it a little bit as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Again, that's Lindsay Roveno, who's the executive director for ESPN Plus on our time, Baylor men's basketball and the women's program with Nikki Collin as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see Nikki Collin speaking on, the shoes she's stepping into and all of that. I'm sure that will be a very interesting storyline. But, yeah, just two pretty amazing programs. Both are top 10 right now. I mean, obviously the men are number one and fresh off a national title. Women have been to the mountaintop more than one occasion, but now it's a new era. So yeah, that's cool. That's a great exposure. It'll be good for both programs, I would imagine. Just in terms of recruiting and things like that. So yeah, that's a nice little surprise, and it's going to be funny. All the people that hate ESPN, they're going to have to turn to ESPN to watch this. The ESPN hates Baylor crowd's gonna have a tough time with this one, but. Yeah, it's great exposure.
Well, and I saw a little bit of that discussion as far as on the board on Sikkim365.com, the premium section, a little bit of that. And again, there might be this possibility that even sometimes whenever we make predictions from high school games to whatever else, we wake up every morning and so do networks wondering how we can make your life miserable. And it's joking there. And yeah, there are some trends that sometimes make you raise your eyebrows about what is covered and what is not. One men's basketball note that we also wanted to add: Kansas beat Stephen F. Austin over the weekend, and they kind of looked like they jumped out on them pretty quickly, and Kyle Keller and the Lumberjacks had them scared to death. And it went down to the wire again. And that's why my alma mater and Kyle, it's hard for them to get non-conference games against anybody. Remember Duke? They beat Baylor, 3 years ago or so.
Oh, I have a feeling that now that SFA calls, they're like, we are open that day, but we've got other people.
They've won at LSU. They won at Duke. They won at Baylor, and they were down to a shot or two against KU at Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah, the minute they beat Duke, people probably moved them. It's like Cameron Indoor.
It's like scheduling North Dakota State back a few years ago, and all of a sudden you realize they're better than probably 30 or 40 of the FBS teams as well. Some of the talk on the chat room, and we got a couple more things to get to as well, including Scott Drew joins us today at 5 o'clock. Cowboys are now number 2 seed in the NFC after their win yesterday against the Giants, and Tampa Bay beaten by the Saints. How about that? We'll have David Hellman will join us with Paul Catalina in the 5 o'clock hour as well. Couple of notes on the wide receivers, biscuits and gravy on Hal Presley, Baylor's wide receiver from Auburn to transfer. Looked good, I thought. And there's a lot of discussion about Isaac Power, who's graduated, who's a phenomenal punter. I mean, he was maybe one of the most unsung heroes of that football season for Baylor. He damn sure was against Oklahoma State, even though they drove the length of the field and almost scored by within inches. He was fantastic in key games this year. So there's a little bit of that chat going on as well on the chat line as well, 254-339-1122. When we come back, we'll have a couple of notes. We'll look at the scores today around college and pro football and a couple of other nuggets as well when it comes to college football and men's basketball. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.